such a cool idea to build. Why didn't I figure it out myself? Let's learn how to build a sword.
Round 1.
I want my sword to look like it crashed into a rock and stayed there for a long time, so I do not build it standing straight. I push it into the stone at an angle because a tilted sword looks more dramatic and tells a story right away. I start with the blade and make it from diamond blocks. Diamond is a great choice for a magic-looking blade because it is bright, strong, and easy to notice from far away. Along the edges, I add obsidian blocks. That dark border helps the blue diamond center stand out more, and it also makes the blade look sharper because contrast is very useful in weapon builds. Then, I build the guard from cyan wool and put obsidian around the outline. Cyan works nicely with the diamond blade, so the colors feel connected. For the handle, I use oak planks and spruce planks. Wood is good there because handles should feel warmer and easier to hold than the blade. At the top, I build the pommel from a diamond block surrounded by cyan wool. Near the lower part of the blade, I make a platform from stone bricks, stairs, and blocks, because the sword needs a rocky place to be stuck in. And that base makes the whole thing feel heavier and more believable. Phew, it took so much effort. Great, my sword is ready.
What? Hello?
Hey, Banana Kid, look! I built it! Do you like?
No.
What? Is my construction too boring because it's just an ordinary diamond sword?
Oh.
It's a pity, but I tried so hard. Maybe then you'll try to build a better sword yourself.
Yay!
They ran to the place. This is where your building will be. Are you ready?
Yahoo!
Then go ahead.
Round 2.
I am watching Banana Kid start his sword, and the first thing he does is build a very tall 2x2 pillar from diamond blocks. At first it just looks like a shiny tower, but I can already tell this will become the blade. Starting with a simple pillar is actually a smart way to build a giant sword. A blade needs a strong center line, and a clean diamond column gives that right away. Diamond blocks are a bold choice because they look rich, powerful, and very magical. A giant fantasy sword should be easy to see from far away, and bright blue does that very well. After finishing the main lower part of the blade, Banana Kid moves to the bottom and starts building something around it from yellow concrete. At first, I am not sure what he is doing because it does not look like a normal sword guard yet. The shape spreads around the lower blade and starts looking a bit like a king's crown. That is actually a very cool design idea. Yellow concrete has a clean golden color, so even without using real gold blocks, it still gives the feeling of royalty and treasure. A crown shape under the blade makes the sword look ceremonial, like it belongs to a ruler or a chosen hero. I like that he puts this detail near the base of the blade instead of hiding it higher up. That way, the sword gets personality early. In design, one special shape can turn a plain object into a story object. The bright yellow also contrasts strongly with the diamond blue, so the two parts stay easy to read. I still think it looks a little funny right now, but it is definitely becoming a very fancy sword. Now Banana Kid adds cyan concrete blocks on the sides of the blade, and then he places light blue glass panes on the corners. This is a really smart way to make the blade look more magical without changing the main diamond center too much. Cyan concrete helps widen the blade visually, but because it is a little darker and flatter than diamond, it does not steal all the attention. The light blue glass panes are my favorite part of this stage. Glass panes are thin, so they work like glowing outer edges instead of chunky blocks. Thin details are useful on giant weapons because they can make the build feel sharper and lighter. A real sword should not look like one giant stone slab. It should feel like it has a cutting line. The panes help create that idea. Also, using transparent blocks in the corners gives the blade a more enchanted look, almost like energy is running along the edges. I tell Banana Kid this sword is starting to look less like a normal weapon and more like a boss item from a special game, and he sounds very proud of that. Higher up, Banana Kid continues the blade and keeps the same diamond width for the center, but he lets the colored outer area grow a little wider. That is an interesting design move because it makes the upper part of the sword feel more decorated and powerful. Normally, a blade might taper smaller, but this one feels like a magical giant weapon, so the wider glowing edge actually works. The cyan parts help frame the diamond center, and that framing makes the blade easier to read from a distance. If every part were the same blue, the giant shape would become flatter and more boring. He is also thinking about silhouette, even if he does not say anything. Silhouette means the outer shape you notice first, and on a big sword that shape matters almost more than tiny details. The wider edge gives the blade a richer outline against the sky. I keep walking around it while he builds, and from different angles the glass and cyan sections catch light in cool ways. The whole blade now feels less like a pillar and more like a magical artifact with layers. When Banana Kid reaches the top of the blade section, he starts building the guard from yellow concrete. He does not make it thick and blocky. Instead, he makes it thin and slightly curved, which is a very good choice. Curved guards feel more elegant and royal, while flat, straight guards can look too stiff. A sword guard has an important job in real design too. It protects the hand and separates the dangerous blade from the safe grip area. Even in a giant decorative build, that separation helps the object make sense. The yellow concrete works perfectly here because it continues the crown idea from lower down. Now I can really see a full style forming. This is not just a random sword. It looks like a king's enchanted sword. The thin shape also keeps the guard from overpowering the blade. That matters a lot. On big weapons, the guard should support the blade, not hide it. I tell Banana Kid he somehow made a giant sword look fancy and powerful at the same time, and he makes one of his excited little noises. Above the guard, Banana Kid starts the handle using prismarine, and he puts blue concrete along the edges. Prismarine is an unusual choice for a sword grip, but it actually works really well here. It has a magical underwater kind of texture, and that texture makes the grip feel ancient and rare instead of simple. Blue concrete on the edges helps the handle look cleaner and more structured. A handle should be easier to read than the blade, because it is the part that suggests control and balance. I notice he keeps the grip narrower than the blade, which is important. If the handle were too thick, the sword would feel clumsy. A thinner grip makes the whole weapon look easier to hold, even though it is giant. The color transition from yellow guard to blue-green handle is also nice because it stops the sword from becoming one color heavy. Different sections should have different visual jobs, and he is doing that well. The handle now feels like the calm center between the loud magical blade and the decorative top. Now Banana Kid builds the pommel from diamond blocks. A pommel is the end piece of the handle, and even though it looks decorative, it has an important design role. It helps finish the silhouette and gives the weapon visual balance. On a real sword, weight at the bottom can help balance the blade. In a Minecraft statue, the same idea still helps the object look believable. A heavy-looking pommel tells the eye that the sword is not all weight at the front. Using diamond blocks here is a good idea because it ties the top back to the blade. That creates a nice loop in the color story. Blue at the blade, yellow at the guard, cool colored grip, then blue at the pommel again. Repeating colors is a very smart design trick because it makes the build feel planned. I step back and the top now looks complete. The sword has a strong vertical flow from bottom to top. It does not feel like random layers anymore. It feels like one full royal weapon, and the diamond pommel gives it that final, expensive, magical finish. Banana Kid is still not done. He goes back to the guard and adds blue and cyan concrete on both sides, stretching them farther out like extra handles or magical side grips. This makes the middle of the sword much wider and more dramatic. I actually like this step a lot, because the wide center helps separate the huge blade from the long handle even more clearly. On giant builds, clear section breaks are important. If the middle area is weak, the weapon can look like one tall stick. The blue and cyan pieces also connect nicely with the blade colors, so the extra width does not feel random. It looks like energy from the blade is spreading into the guard. I tell Banana Kid this sword now looks like something a final boss would pull from a temple wall. He just keeps going and making his funny, proud sounds. The wider middle gives the build a stronger silhouette too. From far away, people will notice the broad guard first, and that makes the whole sword feel more legendary and less ordinary. At the back, Banana Kid suddenly builds a huge red cape from red concrete, and he curves it to the left, like wind is pushing it. That is such a dramatic finishing move. The sword was already interesting, but adding a cape behind it turns the whole thing into a scene instead of a single object. Red concrete is perfect because it is bold, easy to see, and very different from all the blue, yellow, and cyan on the sword. Contrast matters a lot here. Without contrast, the cape would disappear. The curved shape is also really smart. Really. A straight hanging sheet would look dead, but a twisting cloth shape makes the whole build feel alive, like a hero just dropped the sword and vanished. Cloth in Minecraft is hard to fake, but smooth bending lines help a lot. I think the cape makes the sword feel royal and powerful at the same time.
Ta-da! Yay!
Where did everyone run off to? Hey guys, what's that noise you're making?
Banana Kid and I are building sword, JJ. Who did it better?
Oh, both of your buildings look great, but I think it's up to the audience to decide who did the best.
Yes, JJ, you're right. Maybe then you have comments on the construction of Banana Kid?
No, I really like Banana Kid's idea of making the sword look like a royal sword. He did it really well.
I totally agree with you, JJ. Maybe you will build a sword?
Okay, then let's run to the place as soon as possible.
JJ, good luck to you. We'll wait in the house.
But?
Thanks, guys. Then I'm starting. Round 3. I begin my sword with the outline of the blade rather than the center. This is a very deliberate choice. An outline defines silhouette first, and silhouette is one of the most important parts of a giant weapon build. I use obsidian blocks for this blade frame because obsidian immediately gives the sword a dark, ancient, and nearly indestructible feeling. A bright material might make the blade look heroic, but obsidian makes it feel cursed and powerful. I place the lower part of the blade at an angle so the whole sword looks planted into the ground rather than floating upright. That angle creates motion and story. A straight sword can feel like a display piece, while a leaning sword suggests impact. I keep the obsidian line narrow enough to still feel sharp, but thick enough to support the dramatic scale of the build. Starting with the contour also helps me plan every later material inside it. If the outer line is correct from the beginning, the inner details have a much easier job. The dark frame already gives this weapon a very threatening identity. Before extending the blade too far, I build the stone surface beneath it. I use regular stone blocks, stone slabs, and stone stairs to create a broken rocky platform where the sword has entered the ground. This base is very important because a giant embedded weapon should interact with the environment. If I ignored the ground, the sword would feel pasted into the world instead of driven into it by force. The mix of full blocks, slabs, and stairs helps me sculpt the rock in uneven layers. Real stone surfaces are rarely flat, so stepped heights create a more believable broken terrain. Stairs are especially useful for chipped edges and small slopes, while slabs keep the transitions from becoming too chunky. I shape the rock, so it rises slightly around the blade, as if the impact cracked and lifted the ground nearby. This kind of environmental support teaches a useful building lesson. The object and the terrain should tell the same story. Here, the story is clear. Something incredibly powerful struck the stone and stayed there. Now, I return to the obsidian blade and begin adding coal fences to the front and back of the outline. This is a very smart texture choice for a dark weapon. Coal fences are thin, so they work like narrow blade ridges or shadow lines without making the sword too bulky. Thin details are very valuable on large statues because they can add depth while keeping the main shape readable. I continue this combination upward, letting the obsidian hold the strong structural edge, while the coal fences bring a more delicate layered feel. The result is much richer than using only one black block. Obsidian is heavy and ancient, while coal fences feel like sharpened lines or dark magical veins. I keep the fences aligned along the blade so they support the long, vertical movement of the sword. Vertical repetition matters here. It guides the eye from the stone base toward the top. Already, the blade looks less like a single wall and more like a crafted object with complexity, as if it was forged from different dark materials for different jobs. About halfway up the blade, I make an important material change. On the front and back, I replace the coal fences with black glazed terracotta. This is a design upgrade rather than a random swap. Black glazed terracotta has a richer surface than plain coal fence lines. And in the middle of the blade, I want more visual power. The central part of a sword is often where ornamental detail can appear without damaging the sharp outline. By changing the material here, I create a stronger visual core. The glaze also gives subtle patterning, which helps the blade look more magical and worked by hand. Fences are excellent for thin edges, but a giant sword benefits from at least one broader decorative band. That band breaks the repetition and gives the viewer a new point of interest as the eye travels upward. I keep the obsidian frame around it so the blade does not lose structure. This change makes the sword feel more ceremonial and less raw. It now looks like an artifact, not only a dark weapon. I continue extending the blade upward, using the same family of materials and gradually increase the amount of black glazed terracotta. This helps the upper blade feel richer and more advanced than the lower section. On a giant fantasy weapon, material progression can tell a story. Simpler structure near the ground can suggest impact and age, while more ornate structure higher up can imply the true crafted nature of the artifact. I still keep obsidian in the main contour because the outer line must stay strong. The contour is what keeps the sword readable from far away. But by allowing more terracotta to appear, I create broader, dark surfaces with subtle pattern variation. That variation is very useful on a mostly black build. If every block has the exact same value and texture, the shape can disappear, especially at night or against dark backgrounds. The blade now has a layered darkness rather than a flat darkness. That is exactly what I want. A cursed sword should feel deep, not empty, and this growing mix of materials creates that effect very effectively. When I reach the top of the blade area, I begin the lower part of the guard. I build these side sections from coal blocks and coal stairs, and I aim them downward. This direction is intentional. A downward guard gives the sword a cruel, predatory feeling, almost like claws wrapping around the hand area. Coal blocks are perfect for this because they keep the guard dark and heavy while still contrasting a little with obsidian and terracotta. Stairs help a lot here because a guard should not look like a flat bar. Angled pieces create more motion and make the transition into the grip area smoother. In real sword design, a guard protects the hand. In fantasy design, it also helps define the weapon's personality. A straight guard can feel noble, but downward hooks feel dangerous. I keep both sides balanced, so the guard frames the blade cleanly. This lower guard now acts like a dark set of wings under the future grip, and it gives the entire sword a far more aggressive middle silhouette. After the lower hooks are in place, I build the center of the guard using coal blocks and the same black glazed terracotta. The middle of the guard has a different job from the outer hooks. It must connect the blade to the handle and visually control the transition between the two. I keep this central zone thicker and more solid so the whole sword feels believable. Even giant fantasy weapons need structural logic. The blade should not seem to float above the handle, and the guard is what makes that connection convincing. I use coal for the heavy base mass and terracotta where I want decorative surface richness. This combination lets the center feel both strong and crafted. I also watch the front silhouette carefully. The center of a guard can ruin a build if it gets too bulky, because then it hides the blade and weakens the grip area. I keep enough width to feel powerful, but not enough to become clumsy. The sword now has a middle section that feels dangerous, dark, and mechanically sound. Above that, I add another guard layer pointing upward, this time using red nether brick slabs. This is one of the most important visual changes in the whole build because it introduces a deep red-black color into the weapon. Red nether brick is excellent for a cursed or infernal sword. It feels hot, demonic, and ancient without being too bright. I angle this upper guard upward so it counters the lower downward hooks. That creates a very dynamic cross shape. In design, opposing directions like this can make a build feel more alive and dramatic. The lower guard pulls down, the upper guard rises up, and the grip will sit between them. I refine the upward sections with coal blocks so they still connect naturally to the darker center. This layered guard system now looks much more complex than a single bar. It teaches a useful lesson too. A guard can be a major storytelling feature, not just a simple line. Here, it makes the sword feel like it belongs to the Nether or some ancient dark kingdom. Now I move into the handle and build it from red nether bricks. This is a strong choice because the handle should feel different from the blade but still connected to the red elements in the guard. Red nether brick has a rougher, more ancient texture than many other red blocks, which suits the dark fantasy style very well. A sword grip must also look like something that could be held. I keep it narrower than the guard and narrower than the blade, because if the handle gets too thick, the weapon loses elegance. Long giant swords still need a clear hand zone. I also make sure the handle rises in a straight controlled line from the center of the guard. Straightness matters here. The blade may be dramatic, but the grip should feel disciplined and crafted. The dark red color gives the handle warmth and power at the same time. It also helps the eye rest between the black blade and the complex pommel that will come later. This handle already makes the sword feel more complete and much more intentional. At the top of the handle, I begin the pommel using the same red nether bricks, plus coal blocks and black glazed terracotta. A pommel is a finishing element, but it also helps balance the visual weight of the entire weapon. The blade is large, dark, and dominant, so the top cannot be too weak. Red nether bricks give the pommel continuity with the handle, while coal blocks strengthen the silhouette and terracotta adds richer surface detail. I shape the pommel so it feels heavier than the handle, but still elegant. A giant pommel should not look like a random stone stuck on top. It should feel like a deliberate endpoint to the weapon's energy. By mixing these materials, I make the top look layered and ceremonial. It almost feels like a dark relic cap sealing power inside the sword. The pommel is especially important because people often read the top and bottom of a build first. With this stronger top shape, the full sword now has a beginning, a middle, and an end that all speak the same dark visual language. Beneath the pommel, I place jungle trapdoors. This is a small detail, but it does a lot of work. Trapdoors are thin and textured, so they help create the idea of wrapping, grip structure, or decorative separators without adding too much bulk. Jungle trapdoors are especially nice here because their warm wood tone contrasts softly with the red nether brick and the black materials around it. That small color break keeps the upper handle area from becoming too dark and flat. In design, tiny, warm accents can make a heavy dark build feel more crafted and less like a single mass of shadow. I position the trapdoors right below the pommel so they function like a transition ring. This also helps the pommel feel seated properly on top of the handle instead of simply touching it. Good transitions matter a lot in giant weapon builds. Without them, parts can feel stacked rather than joined. These trapdoors add just enough fine detail to make the upper grip area feel finished and more believable. With the top nearly complete, I return to the guard and refine it using red nether brick slabs. Slabs are extremely useful for weapons because they let me soften transitions and add layered edges without making everything too thick. On the guard, this is especially important. A guard should feel sharp and intentional, not like a heavy platform. By placing slabs along the red portions, I make the upper hooks and middle sections read more clearly. The red slabs also repeat the handle material in a thinner form, which helps unify the middle of the sword. Repetition of material in different thicknesses is a strong design technique. It creates consistency while still allowing visual variety. I check the guard from the front and side as I work, because guards can easily become awkward from one angle, even if they look strong from another. These slab refinements make the weapon feel more elegant and dangerous at the same time. The central cross-section is now one of the most dramatic parts of the entire build. To make the guard even more ritualistic, I add nether wart fences along the outer edges. This is a bold but very effective detail. Netherwart fences have a thin red structure that feels thorny and sinister, almost like magical roots or infernal metal spikes. Thin edge details are great for a large guard because they extend the silhouette without adding too much heavy volume. I place them carefully so they frame the red and black guard instead of cluttering it. Clutter is always a risk on complex fantasy weapons. Too many edge details can make the shape unreadable. Here, the fences work because the main guard structure is already strong and simple enough to support them. These red fence lines also connect beautifully to the nether brick handle, creating a clear color family through the middle of the sword. The result is a guard that feels both ancient and dangerous. It no longer looks like only a functional hand stop. It looks like a magical focus point, almost like the sword itself is alive with nether energy. The final and most magical step is filling the inner blade with nether portal blocks. This instantly transforms the sword from a dark physical weapon into something supernatural. Portal blocks are perfect inside the blade because they create a moving, glowing purple core without needing extra furniture or lighting. The purple effect contrasts strongly with the black obsidian contour and the dark terracotta surfaces, so the center of the blade feels alive. In visual storytelling, a glowing core often suggests trapped energy, corruption, or ancient power. Great! My sword is ready. It's time for me to show it to the guys.
Wow, JJ, you've got such a cool sword. It's like it's the sword of some demon lord.
Thank you guys. I am very glad that you liked my building. Friends, be sure to write in the comments whose building you liked the most. Well, I think it's time for us to finish.
Yes, JJ, you're right.
Subscribe and like. Bye-bye.